Morning, everybody, and welcome to our Friday How to Take Over the World session. My name is Mark. I'm hosting you for today. It has been a very chaotic week in South Africa. I think no power and no water and all those other challenges that are supposedly character building. But I think, as South Africans, we always make a plan. So 10 points for making it as far as Friday, I think is a very real challenge that's out there, that it is that we have to constantly adapt and you can't really plan for the future. But thank you to everybody who's put in effort in various projects this week. It is much appreciated. Quickly, a reminder of purpose. We work with entrepreneurs around the twin challenges of access to finance. That'll be everything from capital raising, ESD initiatives, CTRC grants, incentives, and getting your business funding ready, all the way through to access to markets, which includes communications, PR, business development, and triple BE strategies. It's been quite a busy year for us so far. We brought on some new clients, and I think we've been in a good space this year, so pleased with what we've achieved up until now. Just a quick tune to get you going this Friday. Eminem, Not Afraid. And it's just a fun fact about it, and one I would totally not have thought. In 2015, he was named the artist with the biggest vocab in music, with 8,818 words across his songs. He averages 1,018 words per song. So that was quite a, if you told me that was Eminem, I would have been very surprised, but there's your fun fact for this Friday. What have we been working on this week? Anae was a delegate at the Future of Sustainability conference. We've been looking at everything from food security through to ESG strategies, greenwashing, and a number of things. So quite interesting content that came out of that, and I'm sure she will post some updates. If you haven't been following her on Twitter, have a look at what she's been talking about there. This is some PR coverage. We developed the press release that has been featured in the Zululand Observer, and this will also be going out to other media houses during the course of this week. Cameron will be looking after that. So this is just some nice coverage of the Solana Energy project that is there. I hosted a webinar this month for YES around how YES is developing the drone piloting industry in South Africa. Lots of really interesting applications. So some of these drone projects have included security. So some fun stories there about, countering some of the theft at places like Eskom. Some interesting stories from some of the pilots who are having to literally avoid being shot out of the sky as they are trying to conduct security operations in places like Eskom facilities. This is just something new, and I think you'll see this coming through on all of our social media. There has been some amendments to our social media strategies, and we will be doing some follow-up articles summarizing the content of the various presentations. So if you look at the presenters who will be presenting today, they will then follow this up with an article on their LinkedIn profile. So have a look there if you find wanting more insights around particular things. This was just a screen grab from Nelly's Prezzo last week, so this is quite cool. Well done to everybody who's been putting this together. Nelly's still working on the recruitment for Solana Energy, so they'll be recruiting a whole lot of young electricians and entrepreneurs in the Richards Bay area. So really excited about that particular project. Why your work matters, and I just wanted to reiterate this. I think that the world is in a very noisy place at the moment, and it's difficult to always feel inspired by the work that you're doing. I think renewable energy is probably going to be one of the biggest challenges or opportunities in South Africa in the foreseeable future. And youth employment. We were chatting to Nelly, and she was phoning some of the youth who had successfully been selected for these positions at the beauty spa during the week, and just the ability to share some good news that you secured a job. You do hear it in the responses, just people knowing that they've been successful. It can be quite it really is a meaningful initiative. So if you're able to grow businesses, create work opportunities, I think that's a very cool and rewarding part of what we do. Big lesson from the previous week, and this is mainly from my side. So, last year we put some effort into getting our customer relationship management system. So it's a HubSpot system up and running. We've let it slide a little bit, but I was actually just going over it. And, we've got some interesting leads that are sitting there that we haven't necessarily followed up on. So I'm going to be driving that process as well in terms of getting our CRM system back up and running, and it allows us to document engagements with the clients so that we know what is happening and we don't miss opportunities that are out there. Some of the things that we've been watching this week, obviously load shedding is the big story, but interestingly, Growth Point, who are one of the biggest property owners in South Africa, particularly shopping centers, they're actually reporting that they're running out of diesel to power their generators. This is obviously meaning that if we can't resolve some of these load shedding issues, the fallback generators won't be able to keep going. In terms of data out of BankServe, more people were paid in May. So in other words, we're back to the pre-pandemic levels. Having said that, the average salary in South Africa has dropped from 15,193 in April to 14,696 Rand in May, and that is expected to drop again in June. Easy Equities, so those of you who have Easy Equities accounts, they've actually added European and UK stocks, so you can go and add a new account to there. The JSE private placements market, so JSE is obviously doing project financing through their private placement market. See that they've added a school and a diamond mining project. If you want to invest in those kind of projects, that's been added. And then the team from Future Growth have added a new early stage venture capital fund for entrepreneurs, which we'll be having a look at as well during the week. So those are the main things that we've been working on. I'm going to hand over to Anay and let her, if I've missed any updates, she can give you the updates, but otherwise, Anay, over to you for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Mark. Mark, will you also please allow me to switch our video on? From this week onwards, all the presenters will be switching their videos on during their presentation so that we can actually connect a little bit better to our audience. There we go.
So you can add.
Yay! Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for that introduction, Mark. I am just quickly going to share my screen with all of you. There we go, and put it into presentation mode. Cool. So thanks, Mark, and thank you for the introduction. I don't think you have left anything out this morning. It was an interesting week trialing and erroring some new things that we want to try out. So that's really cool. The Sustainable Energy Conference is still going on today. So I will be posting a lot of updates on that if you guys want to follow me on Twitter. They do have a prize for the most engaged delegate, so I am definitely aiming to win one of those prizes. So please engage with my tweets today. That would be awesome from your side. This morning, I want to let you into my brain a little bit by sharing some of the podcasts that I've been listening to and that has really made a difference in my life. So I want to start with this quote saying garbage in, garbage out. I'm sure that everyone has heard this quote previously. It is used to express the idea that in computing and other fields, incorrect or poor quality input will produce faulty output. So if you think of your brain, for instance, if you were going to insert a lot of garbage into your brain, what do you think is going to come out? And then I want to ask the questions, what are you currently filling your brain bin up with? So if you are listening to music, is it uplifting, upbeat music, or is it perhaps music that is contributing to a depressed state of mind? If you are reading content, is it negative content, or is it upbuilding, uplifting content that actually contributes to what you know, how much you know about it, and what you can share with other people? So recently I've started to listen to a lot of podcasts, and I found that there's a lot of benefits to listen to these podcasts. It actually helps reduce stress and anxiety, improves focus and attention span, it boosts your mood, encourages imagination, and improves your comprehension and vocabulary. I think all of these advantages are quite self-explanatory. If we look at number 4, for instance, encourages imagination. When you listen to a podcast, there's no imagery to substitute and support that podcast. So you have to actually make up images in your mind, which will then encourage imagination and spark creativity. With this in mind, I'm going to share the 5 podcasts that I've been listening to recently so that you can maybe also go and check them out. The first one is Moonshots. The aim of this podcast is to learn out loud. So what they are doing is they're taking the learnings from top business people and leaders in the world and sharing it with their community. What they also do that is quite cool is they review books. So they will go and read a book, like for instance, what Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then they will give a review on the book in the sense of what stood out for them, what did they learn from the book, and why you should also go and read the full story. What is cool about this is if you don't necessarily have time to read a full book, you can still gather the learnings from the book without necessarily having to go and read it, although they obviously still encourage you to go and read it yourself. The second one is the Knowledge Project. What I love about this is that the interviewer, Shane Parrish, interviews his guests on a personal and a professional level. So he don't just ask them, what do you learn or how can you apply this in your business world, but also how are you using your personal life to be better in business? And I think often we get a view into people's offices, but we don't really get a view into their homes. And getting this view into how someone lives and how that actually influences the way that they do business and lead is quite inspiring for me. One of the coolest ones that I've listened to so far was the economics Nobel Prize winner, as well as Kat Cole, who is now the CEO of Green Athletics, and she was the previous CEO of Cinnabon. So I can really recommend those to go and listen to. The third one is No Stupid Questions. This is a podcast brought to you by Freakonomics, and it is hosted by Stephen J. Dubner and Angela Duckworth. What they do is they take regular questions that regular people like you and me would ask, and they unpack those questions. So they would ask, how much sleep do you need? Is it really important to brush your teeth? Is it really important to have breakfast? And then they would back that up with science to give you information to make informed decisions to live your life better. And those are just really stupid examples. They don't really cover, is it important to brush your teeth? Although I think it would be cool if they did. The fourth one is TED Business and TEDx Talks. So TEDx Talks is it's YouTube videos, so I don't really want to encourage you this morning to go and watch the YouTube videos, but go and explore the TED page for all their different podcasts. My favorite one is TED Business, but that's not the only podcast that they host. They host podcasts on women in business, women in leadership, people in business, people in leadership. So go and find one that you really enjoy listening to and maybe share it with us after this talk. I must say my favorite TEDx talks, if I were to refer to the YouTube videos, would definitely be Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. If you have not yet watched it or listened to the podcast for it, I would really encourage you to do so. The last one is On Purpose with Jay Shetty. I'm sure all of us have come across some of Jay's content on social media. Whether you were looking for it or not, you would have come across a video where he has given you some powerful insight into purpose and value and the way that you should live life, or not should, but ways that maybe can help you live life better. So I'm not necessarily always a big fan of the people that he's hosting, but what I like about it is the fact that you get different perspectives and perceptions into people's lives and why they do what they do and how they got where they are right now. And that I think is also a valuable insight if you too want to live your life in a certain way and maybe want to pull from other people's experiences. I also like that he touches on some of the softer topics or softer skills, if you can call it like that. So because I think purpose is often a fluffy a fluffy subject that shouldn't be, and he unpacks it in an understandable, valuable way. So also a cool one to check out. So I'm going to close this morning by asking you what you put, or actually telling you that what you put into your brain bin matters, and go and review that this week and share with us if you have any great finds or any valuable things that you think would fill our brain bins a little bit better. So thank you, guys. Yeah, feel free to also maybe share some of the podcasts that you are listening to in the chat, or even send us a DM or a message on LinkedIn. We would really like to hear from you. And this is also our first video on presentation. So thank you very much for endearing me this morning and listening to my not TED Talk.
Thanks, Anae. I actually realized I was bad. I didn't do. I forgot the instructions, so my bad on that one. I will remember video for next time. That was a really good prezzo, and I mean, I think the one that I probably have enjoyed the most is Tim Ferriss. He's obviously the guy behind the principle of the 4-day work week. But there's some awesome things there that you've got, and I agree 100%. If you are not constantly learning and feeding your brain, you won't get a sense of what is actually happening in the world. And I think I just reiterate, there's actually value in attending conferences and learning about what's actually happening. I know that we do sometimes worry about being busy, but I think there's a difference between being busy and being developing ourselves professionally. So I think a big shout out to Anae, and I think she's been setting the tone nicely this week, and well done on that. And please support her on her Twitter mission, because we always love to win prizes. With that, I'm going to ask Anae just to make Ntokozo the host so she can share a video, and screen share is available there. Anae,
Yeah. And please share for me. I want to enable my video, please.
You made Ange the host. Just hold on a second.
Oh, wait, sorry. That happens when I'm not wearing my glasses. Are you reclaiming, Mark?
I can't. You need to do it.
Hold on. Ams, you're currently host. Don't you just want to be
sorry, Ams is to make Ntokozo host. Yeah.
Yes. There used to be a reclaim host option, but I can't find it now.
Yeah, Ams, if you could give host to Anae, I just need my video enabled, but Anae will be sharing my presentation.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how to give host to someone.
So you just click on their name and you say make them host.
Okay.
In the participants tab.
To Ntokozo or to Anae?
Ntokozo asks to me, please.
Yeah, done.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Ntokozo, you need to give me access to your presentation, please. Ntokozo?
I am doing that for you now. Apologies, I thought that was done. I'm sorry, please just give me 1 second. It's moving a little bit slow. Okay, you should have permission now, Anae.
Cool. No, it still says request access. Perhaps just try to share it from your side. I don't think you're going to have a problem.
Okay. I was just worried about the echo, but let me give it a try. Are you able to see that fine?
Just mute your other device.
But we can see your screen, so you can try again.
I'm trying to.
You need to switch the microphone input down, not the mute the output.
Okay, is that better?
A lot. Perfect.
I am sorry, everybody. Just my device on my laptop is giving me a little bit of issues. But this morning, I would like to talk or unpack a little bit on how we can give the small business ecosystem big PR advantages as the industry continues to face new industry patterns. And just as a quick reintroduction, I am Ntokozo, and I play the role of business development and content strategy here at Ntokozo. So over the next couple of minutes, I'd like to unpack why PR is important to the SME ecosystem, major global trends that we are seeing for the 22-23 financial year, easy wins that we can adopt for our clients. So public relations is obviously a key tool for the success of small businesses in any highly competitive market. But I think what I have learned over the last couple of months is that a lot of small business owners are still skeptical of the purpose or the value of PR. So our job is to always help them to build trust with their audience, get a chance against their bigger rivals, and build networks within their own industries or other industries. So it's our jobs as consultants to show the business owners and to support them to see the value in their PR strategies. Now, looking at some of the major global trends that we are seeing, I came across a couple of stats and in-depth studies from international studies, including Prowley and Statista. And some of the stats that we found, they include, the worth of PR being worth about $88 billion and expected by 2026 to reach $126 billion. Now, what this means is that the industry is growing, driven by the shift to digital mediums from the COVID-19 impacts. But I think for me, what really stands out is some of the other stats being Thursday is the best day to launch a press release for the highest open rates. A journalist on average only responds to about 3% of PR pitches that they do receive, and at least 25% of journalists and media professionals get over 100 cold pitches for PR and stories on a weekly basis. And 9 out of 10 professionals, public relations executive says that public relations is actually a bad definition of their job description. So what exactly does this mean for us if the industry is changing so much and public relations is not quite what public relations used to be? So some of the trends that we are seeing in the industry comes to obviously with media needs, data-driven approaches, diversity and inclusion starting to be very important, and a change in audience. And in the center of that is PR being an important part of any organization's ecosystem, which means it needs to work closely with other departments. And just looking at those media needs, this means that media outlets are relying more on contributed articles as full-time staff members continue to shrink. So what this means for us is we need to become content creators ourselves as public relation consultants, practitioners. We need to be able to tailor stories that actually speak to the individual media. What I've realized is sending a press release that kind of uses the same language and just sending it out to mass media, the likelihood of me getting picked out is actually minimal. We need to start creating our own stories or those thought leadership pieces and actually tailoring those stories or that content for those individual medias to be able to get the traction that we're wanting. Data-driven approaches to PR. This is not necessarily something new. I think we have been collecting data and making sense of it for our clients in terms of those PR reports, reporting, how a piece of content is performing on social media or how many publications we got on that piece of content. But where the data-driven approach is moving to is saying, yes, that report is there for us, but can we unpack that report a little bit more to analyze beyond the numbers? This means, can we tell who are the people that are actually reading our pieces of content? In what regions are they reading those pieces of content? And how do we tailor that our clients can actually see that return on investment on the pieces of content and where it is actually being received and being read? So that is especially important because it helps us to form and report on what the future will look like and helps us also to rework our PR strategy if we are not meeting those milestones that we thought we would meet. And the data-driven approach, again, it is important then to work closely with search engine optimization teams because you will be able to then make more sense of those numbers. When we look at diversity and inclusion, with the global reach or the growing global reach of PR campaigns, there is necessity for diversity and inclusion to be applied not only in theory, but also in practice. What does this mean? It means attracting people from different ethnicities, cultures, and socioeconomic backgrounds that is now changing the way we look at the PR world. And this means no matter who your client is, we need to be able to be diverse and inclusive in the content that we send out there, because we are never certain who is the one who's receiving our content. So it's always important for us to create authentically engaging content and move away from siloed media mediums. This means only focusing, if we are covering an SME, only focusing on your business day or so on, for example, because we might actually be missing some of that diversity and inclusion. And building credibility with each audience means trying to speak in a language that each audience member is able to better understand. And there is a crucial change in audience. What this means is Gen Z. Gen Z actually has a lot more power than we actually grant them. Yes, they are always on their phone. They, about 90% of Gen Z have a smartphone, and they spend at least 5 hours in their day on their smartphone, and they don't go 30 minutes without checking their phones. So that market is an especially important market because they also give us signs of what's the audience, of what our consumers think like and would be looking like in the near future. And to engage with them, again, it comes to saying authentic content, but we also need to be able to analyze what their trends are, what their interests are, what their passions are, how they do things, and what channels of communications that they use, because they do kind of give us the lead on where people will start moving into. So we need to make that content engaging, and we should not ignore whatever concerns that they do raise. And the way to get them engaged is for us to give them those calls to action. And then just finally, the PR ecosystem. PR no longer works as a silo. We can no longer close ourselves as public relations practitioners and close ourselves in the room and just get things going. We need to work together in the greater organization ecosystem, and the closest department that we should be working with is marketing. So PR and marketing departments now go hand in hand, and this leads to the necessity for better coordination across all the different departments. This means we can sync our campaigns, which saves us time and actually helps us make sure that we secure higher impact with our campaigns and our target audience. It's also more cost efficient and increases that return on investments. So nowadays, PR has touching points with many organisms within the ecosystem. So within marketing, it's that coordinated efforts between paid ads, content strategies, being articles and stories, social media exposure, being LinkedIn and Facebook. So it's ensuring that as PR consultants, we do actually connect with all those departments to ensure that we do coordinate our efforts. And I think just in conclusion, over the last couple of years, we definitely have seen a move with, people being a lot more active, taking parts in movements, defining what is right and what is wrong, and standing up for it. This obviously stems from the abundance of information that we are being fed, but importantly, it means that these movements are focusing on the human as a starting point. So this is especially important for us as consultants working within the SME ecosystem, because more startups or small businesses not only support these positive movements, but they are actively working towards making a difference. So our job is to ensure that we make it easier for them to make that difference. And the use of digital media is helping to shape not only the world and emerging trends in public relations, but it's becoming more and more evident that when used right and done right, it is the way for us to move. So PR is now a marketing machine on its own, and it's no longer just about controlling how others perceive our clients in the public realm, but it's also about crafting those stories that consumers can relate to and buy into the brand. Thank you.
Thanks. Will you just shift me back to the host so I can end the recording shortly? I think 2 comments from my side. Obviously, focusing, I think sometimes we have too many moving parts, and I think just focusing on simplicity when it comes to messaging. I think often there's, people, when you look at comms campaigns, are trying to appease everybody all the time, and rather than just hammering home the same message. I think Anae's point about what you are reading and the podcasts, etc., is important. I think people forget that podcasts can actually be a very powerful tool. Fun fact, we actually proposed Emma's podcast and Emma's platform for the bankers there at ABSA. So there's some opportunities there that's starting to become a property that we can build out on. And then thirdly, and this is just something I'm going to reiterate, we have that tracker in place. I think before any content is created, please fill in those trackers so that we know what we are actually creating as time goes by and what the purpose of that content is. You should all have access to it. If not, you're welcome to get the link from Anae. Anybody else got any thoughts, comments? Cool. So that, I think, is everybody for today. I will share this recording with them and we'll put it up onto the YouTube channel as well. Thank you, everybody, for your time. And I think it'll be a productive week. So let's hopefully Friday. So let's try and knock off this Friday and see what the new week holds. Hopefully we are optimists and not pessimists. I know it is a bit difficult to be an optimist at the moment, but we will be optimists because we only grow if there is a little bit of optimism in the world. Happy Friday, everybody, and we shall chat then during the day. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys. Happy Friday. Bye.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Bye, everybody.